It's strange to think about how radically different my life could have been just 40 years ago. It was just 4 decades, but it was also a different time and age, especially for someone like me, someone who's black. I probably wouldn't have a decent job, an education at one of the finest universities in the nation, or parents who could financially support me to chase the career I want. But also the indefinite things, the things money can't buy, the things that people with the incredible ability to envision a brighter future once fought for. Things like freedom, rights, equality, hope. It's strange for me to think that just 40 years ago, I would have none of that, just because of the certain complexion of my skin. No freedom, no rights, no equality, no hope. These ideals that the United States were built on, the ideals prescribed by our forefathers, seem undeniably endowed to us all as American citizens, but in reality, the subjugation of women and the bonds of slavery have made these basic ideals something that we still have to fight for today, something that has inextricably altered America's future and present, where I am today, where I have to accept the fact that there are some who think of me as lesser, not deserving, not worthy. The same mindset from 40 years ago. A continual propagation of beliefs that some humans are just inherently inferior. And look where that's gotten us today. African Americans like myself and other minorities have to overcome that mindset, that obstacle, that voice that tells us that we will never do anything worthwhile or amount to anything in our lives. We're different. We won't fit in, and we should just accept our place in society. But we won't. So we'll fight, just like we did 40 years ago. And we're not alone. Most recently, there was the case of Abigail Fisher, a University of Texas applicant for undergraduate admissions. Fisher fought for the university in the Supreme Court, arguing that unfair racial preferences were used in the admission selection process, ultimately resulting in the university's decision to decline her acceptance. On June 24, 2013, the Supreme Court of the United States made a nearly unanimous decision that under Grutter v. Bollinger, the university is allowed to use race as a factor in determining admissions, so long as the use is narrowly tailored, meaning absolutely necessary in use. One striking aspect of this case is the thoughts held by Justice Clarence Thompson, who in his nearly 20-page opinion wrote, "The arguments by the university in defense of discrimination are the same ones as those advanced by the segregationists." Thomas also argued to rule that the use of race in such higher education admissions decisions violates the Equal Protection Clause, claiming, "Blacks and Hispanics admitted to the university as a result of racial discrimination are, on average, far less prepared than their white and Asian classmates. The university's discrimination does not increase the number of Black and Hispanics who have access to the college education generally. Any Blacks and Hispanics who likely would have excelled at less elite schools are placed in a position where underperformance is all but inevitable because they are less academically prepared than their white and Asian counterparts." Justice Thomas argues that affirmative action has not worked to secure a substantial amount of minority students in higher education, but minority student enrollment has increased drastically since the era of civil rights. In 1965, only 5% of undergraduate students, 1% of law students, and 2% of medical students in the country were African American. Today, according to data from the National Center on Education Statistics, 65% of African American graduates immediately enroll in college. In addition, Richard Kahlenberg, an established critic of affirmative action, argues that the policy is unfair because it gives a government-mandated advantage to minorities. But in reality, affirmative action was found in an attempt to minimize unearned majority advantage and redress some of the effects of years of inequality in America. Giving an advantage or using preferential treatment was never the original idea behind affirmative action. President Lyndon B. Johnson issued Executive Order 11246, which required government employers to take affirmative action to hire without regard to race, religion, and national origin in order to drive diversity in America. And despite the progress that has been made, the playing field is far from equal. Women continue to earn 77 cents for every male dollar, and African Americans continue to have twice the unemployment rate of white people, twice the rate of infant mortality, and just over half the proportion of people who attend 4 years or more of college. In fact, without affirmative action, the percentage of Black students at many selective schools would drop to only 2% of the student body. This would effectively choke off Black access to top universities and severely restrict progress toward racial equality. Effectively, the work done to advance minority citizens in America is nowhere close to where it needs to be. We've come a long way from 40 years ago, but why stop now? Why not let affirmative action continue its initial purpose, to promote equality and opportunity until we finally see a change? To help people achieve new and unprecedented levels of success. Who knows where we'll be 40 years from now?